After 4 decades, 3 trilogies, a few film spinoffs, and multiple series, the Star Wars machine has employed hundreds of actors, many of whom have passed on. Here are some of the major Star Wars actors who are sadly gone but will never be forgotten. An author of humorous memoirs and comic fiction that laid bare her lifelong issues with mental illness and addiction, Carrie Fisher was also an in-demand joke writer for Hollywood award shows and wrote the screenplay for movies like Postcards from the Edge. But Fisher became ultra-famous for her breakout movie role in 1977's Star Wars: A New Hope, Princess Leia Organa. An Alderaan royal, battle general, and Rebel Alliance figurehead, Leia appeared throughout the Star Wars franchise, with Fisher reprising the role in The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi.
And you just feel good about yourself and confident all the time. That's why people want to be celebrities. Okay, that's not true.
On December 23, 2016, Fisher was on a flight to Los Angeles when she had a cardiac arrest. She died 4 days later. The coroner attributed her death to sleep apnea, but Fisher also had heart disease, and the drugs present in her system when she passed included opiates, alcohol, cocaine, and ecstasy. Fisher was 60 years old.
May the Force be with you.
Fisher's mother, Hollywood icon Debbie Reynolds, had a stroke and died the day after her daughter did. Her son Todd Fisher told Variety she wanted to be with Carrie. Chewbacca, the tall fur-covered bandolier-rocking Wookiee, spoke in a series of growls and wails seemingly understood only by his co-pilot and best friend, Han Solo.
It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
That's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose.
One of the major figures in the first Star Wars trilogy and the Rebel movement, Chewbacca also figured prominently in the Star Wars holiday special Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens. He was portrayed by actor Peter Mayhew, whose resume outside of Star Wars included projects like Killer Inc. and Yesterday Was a Lie. Health issues forced Mayhew to retire from playing Chewbacca. The role was taken over by actor Jonas Suotamo shortly before Mayhew had spinal surgery.
We had a week-long Wookiee boot camp where we went over the specifics.
Less than a year later, his health took another downturn. Mayhew died at his Texas home on April 30th, 2019 at age 74. Kenny Baker played Star Wars droid R2-D2, bleeping and blooping his way across the galaxy with his constant companion C-3PO, and ally of the Rebel Alliance. Baker played R2-D2 in the first 6 Star Wars movies, but he initially turned down the role, 3 times in fact, because as he told The Hollywood Reporter, "I'd rather not be stuck in a robot, to be honest." Baker also appeared in more dramatic material, like Amadeus and in the 80s fantasy staples Labyrinth and Willow. Baker's final years were plagued with health issues. He was invited to the 2015 premiere of The Force Awakens, but doctors said he was too sick to make the trip. On August 13, 2016, Baker was discovered dead at his home in Preston, England. The actor was 81 years old. Sir Alec Guinness delivered a gravitas-filled performance as Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi in 1977's Star Wars: A New Hope.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
By the time he played Ben Kenobi, Guinness was already a UK luminary, with roles in classics like Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and The Bridge on the River Kwai, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. On August 5, 2000, Guinness died in a medical facility in West Sussex, England, 6 months after being diagnosed with prostate cancer, which had spread to his liver. He was 86 years old. A former Jedi Knight enchanted by the Force and its wicked darker elements, Sith Lord Darth Vader dedicated himself to destroying the Jedi and the Rebel Alliance. One of the most iconic movie villains ever, it took multiple actors to create Vader in Star Wars: A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. While James Earl Jones recorded Darth Vader's voice, David Prowse played him in his physical form, his identity concealed under a black suit of armor, cape, and helmet. However, Prowse did not portray Vader when his helmet was removed upon the character's death in Return of the Jedi. That role went to actor Sebastian Shaw.
I am your father.
Prowse, a 1960s British weightlifting champion, specialized in playing physically imposing characters, including a bodyguard in A Clockwork Orange and the title monster in the horror Frankenstein. In 2018, Prowse was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He died on November 28, 2020. No cause of death was announced. However, Prowse's daughter Rachel told the media that her father died after contracting COVID-19. Prowse was 85 years old. Sir Christopher Lee played important roles in numerous major science fiction, action, fantasy, and horror franchises. He joined the Hammer Films horror studio in the 1950s, playing the creature in The Curse of Frankenstein, The Mummy and the Mummy, and Count Dracula in 8 films. He later appeared in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy as evil sorcerer Saruman. In Star Wars: The Prequel Trilogy, Lee played Count Dooku, a Jedi who turns to the dark side, becoming the self-serving, megalomaniacal Sith Lord Darth Tyrannus.
Powerful you have become, Dooku. The dark side I sense in you.
Following a stay in the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in London for heart failure and serious respiratory issues, Lee passed away on June 7, 2015. He was 93. Max von Sydow enjoyed a long, acclaimed acting career, and one of the last roles he took on was Lor Santika in the Star Wars franchise reboot The Force Awakens. A seasoned galactic explorer with ties to the Resistance and the New Republic, Santika helped Luke Skywalker acquire critical Jedi information before retiring to the planet Jakku. Although Princess Leia tried to protect Santika, he was murdered by power-mad villain Kylo Ren.
What daring! What outrageousness! What insolence! What arrogance!
The Force Awakens capped a career that included major science fiction like Flash Gordon, Oscar-nominated fare including Pele the Conqueror, and the Ingmar Bergman classic The Seventh Seal. On March 9, 2020, Von Sydow's wife, Catherine, announced his death at his house in Provence, France. The actor was 90 years old. Northern Ireland-born actor Ray Stevenson became an action star in the 2000s. He played the martyred knight Dagonet in the blockbuster adaptation of King Arthur and the title role in Punisher Warzone. Stevenson joined the MCU as the warrior Volstagg for the 3 Thor movies and contributed to multiple Star Wars properties. He voiced the fearsome Mandalorian warrior Gar Saxon in 2 episodes each of the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and one of his last projects before his death was the 2023 Disney Plus series Ahsoka, in which he played trustworthy soldier of fortune Baylan Skoll.
If Gar Saxon could see you now.
I know, right?
On May 21, 2023, while working on the film Casino in Ischia on location in Italy, Stevenson unexpectedly fell ill and was quickly sent to a local medical facility. The actor passed away later that day at the age of 58. Stevenson's Ahsoka co-star Rosario Dawson told People, "Ray was an almost like Nordic kind of man, who was very heavy-handed and then just like the most gentle, brilliant, like loving divine feminine spirit." Boba Fett, a bounty hunter of few words who almost never takes off his helmet, officially debuted in animated form in 1978's The Star Wars Holiday Special, then popped up throughout The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in pursuit of Han Solo, only to wind up presumed dead in Tatooine's notorious Sarlacc pit. The human beneath all that Mandalorian armor was Jeremy Bulloch. The UK-born actor began his career on late 1950s television as a teenager, appearing in dozens of programs before filming more than 200 episodes of 60s-era serialized drama The Newcomers. In 2005, Bulloch returned to Star Wars, this time showing his face as Captain Colton in Revenge of the Sith. Bulloch died from complications of Parkinson's disease on December 17, 2020. The actor was 75 years old. Carl Weathers is best known for another long-running franchise that began with a blockbuster movie in the 1970s, the Rocky series. In the original 1976 film, Weathers played boxer Apollo Creed, a role he reprised in 3 hit sequels. Weathers also starred in the 80s action movies Predator and Action Jackson, and the comedy Happy Gilmore, and played a cheapskate version of himself on Arrested Development. On Disney Plus's Star Wars spin-off The Mandalorian, Weathers recurred as Greef Karga, a magistrate and bounty hunter. Weathers received his first and only Emmy nomination for The Mandalorian, which would turn out to be his final role. The actor passed away on February 1, 2024 from heart disease at age 76. Mandalorian creator Jon Favreau wrote about Weathers on the Star Wars website, saying, "He was a hero from my childhood who I was lucky enough to meet and then had the amazing good fortune to work with." Alfie Curtis made an impact with his introduction as Dr. Evazan in the original Star Wars movie.
"You just watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems."
A disgraced doctor turned smuggler, Dr. Evazan carried out monstrous medical experiments before trying to intimidate Luke Skywalker, throwing him through a table only to meet his comeuppance at the end of a lightsaber wielded by a protective Obi-Wan Kenobi. Curtis made a career out of playing tough guys. Apart from Star Wars, he played supporting roles in films like The Elephant Man and played one of the goons in a-ha's music video Take On Me shortly before his retirement from acting in 1986. In December 2017, Curtis died at his home in the UK. The actor was 87. General Tage was chief of military operations on the first Death Star in Star Wars A New Hope. Privately resentful of the battleship's construction and one of the few officers who considered the Rebel Alliance a serious problem, Tage avoided death on the exploded Death Star after the Emperor promoted him to Grand General and moved him elsewhere. A member of the illustrious Royal Shakespeare Company, Henderson racked up more than 100 screen credits during his lifetime. Along with his work in Star Wars, Henderson was best known for portraying Detective George Bullman in 3 different series, The XYY Man, Strangers, and Bullman. 17 years after he was first diagnosed with throat cancer, Henderson passed away in Warwick, England, on June 22, 1997 at the age of 65. Darth Vader is one of cinema's all-time cruelest villains, exemplified by his preferred manner of execution. When even his high-ranking subordinates displease him, he chokes them to death without touching them using the Force. This is how Galactic Republic officer Admiral Kendall Ozzel dies in The Empire Strikes Back, executed for mistakes made during the Empire's attack on Haas Rebel Alliance base.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
Michael Sheard nailed his harrowing death scene in just one take. He told interviewer John Jagwani, "It's perfectly true. I used to be known as One Take Mike." The Scottish actor was otherwise best known for playing mean teacher Maurice Bronson on the British youth soap Grange Hill, and for playing Adolf Hitler 5 times, notably in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. On August 31, 2005, Sheard died on the Isle of Wight in the UK. The cause of death was cancer, and the actor was 65. A character actor who hosted the long-running Australian children's program Play School and played small roles in dozens of Australian television series from the 1960s until the mid-2010s, Sumner has one particular claim to fame. He was the sole Australian to appear in the original 1977 Star Wars film. He was on set for just 2 days, but he delivered the memorable line,
TK-421, do you copy?
Despite his brief screen time, Sumner's character got a canonical name and rank, Lieutenant Pol Tratum, officer on the Death Star. Sumner parlayed his notoriety into numerous appearances at science fiction conventions. Sumner had lucked out on the gig while on a family trip to England where Star Wars was filming. His agent said they needed him and could pay him £60 per day of shooting, a large sum to a working actor just scraping by. Sumner passed away in Australia in November 2016 after a long illness. He was 74.